Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back, dear students. Now, in our last lesson, we started with the enrichment of our semester. We started with Unit 5. Now we are going to move on with our second unit here, which is the Gender Divide, Unit 6. Now, we're going to start with the grammar. What did we study in the grammar of Unit 6? Now you can see that we have here two parts highlighted, and actually I mentioned the two parts in our last enrichment. Now we have here the infinitive and the gerund. So let's revise. Let's read the sentences and see here. You will forget to revise the lesson if you keep wasting time on games. And in the second example here, you will forget revising the lesson if you are not paying attention. Now, from the underlined part in the two sentences, we can see that we used two structures that we studied. Now, which one is the infinitive and which one is the gerund? We learned throughout the semester and actually from the first semester that the gerund looks like a noun, looks like a verb actually, but it functions as a noun. Now, here we have the gerund is the word or the structure that has ing. Now we can see that it functions. If you read the sentence completely or correctly, you can see that it is actually a noun here in the sentence. On the other hand, we have the infinitive. Now the infinitive, as we have in the first sentence, forget to revise. Now when you have to with a verb, this is the infinitive. Well, of course it has to be in the base form here, and we have here the infinitive also looks like a verb, but it can function as a noun, it can function as an adjective or as an adverb. Now when you read the sentences here, you can discover the difference in meaning as we studied in the grammar lesson. Now just to refresh your memories here, we have also other examples. We can see that Amal remembers to revise grammar weekly. Amal remembers revising the part about infinitives and gerunds. Now here also don't forget that we are going to use specific verbs here, 5 verbs. We have here forget, remember, we have regret, stop, and try. And here these verbs, we can use them in the past or in the present or even in the future if we need it. The third example here, Ahmed tried to understand by himself. He tried to understand. Ahmed tried understanding the rules from Ain lessons without asking the teacher. So you can see that we have here the platform. It helps you sometimes even without asking somebody else. Now here, what is the difference? You can see that the examples are different because the meaning that we have here is different. Now specifically, Ahmed tried studying from the platform, so we have here something specific we use with it. We have the gerund. In our next example, we have here, they have stopped to take a break from studying. We have here, they have stopped to take a break. And then we have, they have stopped taking breaks all the time and concentrated more on studying. So when you focus here, you see the difference in meaning, and this is what we studied in our lesson. Now our last example here, we have the verb regret. The teachers regret to tell students that they will have or they have failed the exam. The teachers regret telling students that they have failed the exam when they feel upset. It is not easy. So as we studied, we have here the verb, it is divided, or we have here the verb, it is used with the infinitive and the gerund. Now the ing form of the verb that functions as the same as the noun as we mentioned. For example, running is fun. And also to revise for one last time, the infinitive is a verb form but doesn't act as a verb. It acts as a noun, adjective, or adverb. As we have here, I love to swim. So the key here to just refresh your memory, and you will not forget the structure, just to use very simple examples. Now when I say that I love swimming, You know that love is the verb and swimming is the noun or the gerund. Or I love to swim. To swim here is the infinitive. So there are different meanings. And the verbs, as we mentioned before, are here. Yes, we're going to start with our exercise. So let's just apply what we revised here in the exercise. Complete each sentence with the correct form of the verb in the parenthesis. So you can see that we have different sentences here, and we do have verbs between brackets. We're going to use them, correct, and just rearrange the sentence. We have here, I often forget the mail, then the next day my mailbox is full. So we have here two different sentences. We have here, they are completely different or completely divided sentences. They are not clauses here. So we have the separate sentences. We can say here, I often forget. I'm going to just correct it and say that I often forget to check the mail. And the other part or the other sentence just helps you to decide whether to use the gerund or the infinitive. I regret the car. It was too expensive. So if there's something missing here, do we say I regret the car? Do you say I regret buying the car? Or I regret to buy the car? And here in the other sentence, it was too expensive. So here we can say that I regret. We're going to correct this part. And yes, the correct form is to say I regret buying the car. Number 3, my father lost his job and we were low on money, so we stopped out at restaurants until he got a new job. We have here the verb eat. Now from the sentence, where is the correct location for the verb? And what do? Do you turn it into gerund or infinitive? So you can see that, so we stopped out. There's something wrong here. Now we know where we're going to put the verb, but do we say, so we stopped eating out or we stopped to eat out? So here the correct form is to say we stopped eating out. Number 4, did you remember out the garbage? Now we have the same idea here. We know where is the mistake. But what do you say? Do you say, did you remember to take out the garbage or taking out the garbage? Now, when you say, did you remember taking out the garbage? Here, you have to just remember, did you or did you not? But when we say, did you remember to take out the garbage? This is a task. Have you done it or not? So we have here, did you remember? Yes, to take out the garbage. We have number 5, I tried you last night, but your phone went straight to voicemail. And we have here call. So here I'm talking about a specific way to reach somebody. Now we have here, the mistake is going to be here, or the missing part. Now I tried reaching or to call you or calling you. Now actually here you can give both options based on the meaning that you want to give. And here we can see that, of course, we have tried, remember. You can see that we have here stop, regret, and forget, all of the verbs that we mentioned before. Now we have the second part of our exercise. We have here, thank you for your application. We regret you that we decided to hire someone else for the job. Now here, I'm sure that you are beginning to get the answers very quickly. Now it is better just to see where is the basic verb. You can see that we have here regret in the sentence. And then you are going to add the verb that you have between brackets, but you're going to decide whether it is the infinitive or the gerund. So read the sentence again. Thank you for your application. We regret, we can say here, to inform you. Number 7, I don't remember in that house because we moved when I was only 2 years old. And we have the verb live. So we have here remember is the verb. Now I don't remember living in that house or to live in that house. Now you can see that the structure, the correct structure is to say I don't remember living in that house. Moving on, we have here number 8. We drove for 4 hours before we had to stop gas. Now we have stop, one of the verbs that we mentioned. So do we say we had to stop to get gas had to stop getting gas? So here, yes, it is very clear that we have the infinitive form. Number 9, I hope he remembers to the library after school today. Go. Now we're going to use the verb go, or we're going to turn it actually into the infinitive or the gerund. After, you can say that we have here the verb remember. Now I hope he remembers, yes, to go to the library after school. We have the last exercise here, number 10. My grandmother has problems with her memory. However, she will never forget her family. So we have here the verb forget, and we have here raise. Now she will never forget to raise her family. We are talking about something that happened in the past, so the correct form is to say raising her family. Now, when you observe more, if you can recall that we also used the same idea of the passive and the gerund, but we used it with the other form. You can say that you are more likely to be told a lie. And here we have they dislike being asked to do such tasks. So here, what is the difference in the two sentences? Of course, we have the infinitive form and the gerund form, but if you can recall that we used it with the passive form. So we combined between the two forms that we have in the sentence, the passive and the part that we studied before, which is the infinitive and the gerund. Here you can see that there are other examples. We studied, of course, that you can use either to be plus the past participle. And we have here being plus the past participle. Now, don't forget that we mentioned using the past participle in the sentence is very important because we are referring to passive. Now we have the passive form, as we mentioned here. Yes, now we change the sentence from active to passive. We have all of these sentences, we're going to change them into passive. I don't like someone telling me to do my homework. So we are going to just remove the subject here, and I'm going to talk about myself. I don't like being told to do my homework. So you can see that I use the gerund, being told. In number 2, my grandfather remembers people giving him gifts when he was a child. So we have here, my grandfather remembers being given gifts when he was a child. Number 3, he wants someone to give him the answer. So we want to turn it into passive. We don't actually care about who gives the answer. So we have here, he wants to be given the answer. Sheila wants her mother to help her. So we have here Sheila, she needs help. Now we can say that Sheila wants to be helped, and then we can add by her mother at the very end. Number 5, babies like someone talking to them. We can say that babies like being talked to. And in the last sentence, the cat wants its owner to feed it. Now the cat wants to be fed by its owner. So in all of these examples, you can see that we used either the gerund form or the infinitive, but in the passive form. Now, one of the things that we mentioned also is the helping verb, or actually the auxiliary verbs, as we mentioned. Now we used it with but and if you can recall that we use either but or and with the auxiliary verbs, but adding it to the very end. So let's start our simple exercise here. My brother doesn't like talking about work. My father doesn't like talking about work. Now we have here these two sentences. Just recall what we studied in the unit. Now, I gave you a very quick flash just to recall what we had. Now, the basic thing is to use either but or and, our connectors, and you have to add an auxiliary verb at the end of the sentence. Sometimes you can add another word, so let's just see what we're going to do. Now, in the sentence here, my brother doesn't like talking about work. This is negative. My father doesn't like talking about work. So we have here, both of them are negative. We can say that my brother doesn't like talking about work and my father doesn't either. Another way to say it is going to be my father doesn't like talking about work and neither does my father. Number 2, I don't like arguing. She doesn't like arguing. So we have negative here. Now, I don't like arguing, and neither does she. Number 3, Sabah is in high school. Her friend Hanan is in high school. So we have here Sabah is in high school and Hanan is too. We have here Jody doesn't like to cook. Gwen likes to cook. You can see that in this sentence we have here one is positive and the other is negative. So here we're going to say that Jody doesn't like to cook, but Gwen does. Now here you can see the sentences as we studied before that we do have an auxiliary verb at the end of the sentence, but when we use the connector and, we can either use either or we can use to, or sometimes we can say, as we have here, yes, neither. Now here there are some addings that we can add to the sentence if we are using the connector and. Now Tom doesn't have a job, his brother has a job. We can just pass by quickly. We have here Tom doesn't have a job, but his brother does. We're not going on a trip. They're not going on a trip. You can see that there is negative. We're not going on a trip and they aren't either. He's not old enough to travel on his own. His brother old enough, or is old enough actually, to travel on his own. So we have here other examples. He's not old enough to travel on his own, but his brother is. And we have number 8, our classmates don't enjoy the activity. We enjoy the activity. We can say that our classmates don't enjoy the activity, but we do. So the basic idea as we revised here is using the connectors, and we have here the different words that we can use with the connector and. Moving on to our form, meaning, and function. Now, do you recall what we studied? Now, the interesting part about the form, meaning, and function here in Unit 6, that it is the same structure that we did study in our first semester. Now, it is easy. It is something that we passed by several times here. So we have here, we are going to talk about forming sentences. Now, there are different tenses, as you can see here. We are going to write the essay in the future. We write different essays all the time, which means that we have present simple. Some of us enjoys writing. Writing here is a gerund. And the last sentence here, some have already written the essay. Now, from the 3 first examples, we can see that we have different structures or forms. And from the last sentence here, we have the helping verb or the auxiliary have already written, which means that we are going to talk about the perfect tense. Now, if we recall that we talked about the present perfect tense, either the has and have done, or we have here has and have been doing. So we have the present perfect simple and we have the present perfect progressive. And in all cases, they connect between the past and the present. Let's move on. A lady has been sitting in a taxi for a long time. We have here has been sitting. Now you can see that we have here the present perfect progressive. Now what did you notice here? That we have here the progressive sentence or the verb, and we have before it been. So it is necessary to use been with the progressive. 2 friends have been catching up. It's the same thing. We have here have been catching up over a cup of coffee. They have drunk. Now notice here, because we didn't use been here in the other part, we have used with the past participle. So you can see that we have two different structures. We have the present perfect simple, as we mentioned, and the present perfect progressive. A man has been directing traffic. A businessman has been talking on his phone. Now, all of these sentences, just to make you recall what is the structure that we studied. We have here a man with a bag has waited for a taxi for a long time. He is soaking wet. Now, in each example, you can see when we use the simple present perfect, we just have the past participle with either has or have. Now, there can be a difference in meaning. Now, sometimes when you read it, you can see that there is similar meaning here, but if we recall that we have the focus on something in specific. So when we use the present perfect simple, we are focusing on the result or the action. Now, in this sentence here, for example, he has lived there for 10 years. When you read it and you read the second part, he has been living there for 10 years, the first thing, you just think that it has the same meaning, but actually, as we studied, we focus the first time on the result, and when we use the present perfect progressive, we are focusing on the time. Now, also, if you recall that we can use it for, we can use it for to express annoyance sometimes. When we say that we have here, I haven't slept my phone has been ringing all night, and who's been eating the cakes? There is only one left. So here we are expressing annoyance, we are expressing some kind of, we have here complaint, we can use it here, or complaining, we can use the present perfect progressive. Now, complete the dialogue with the present perfect or the present perfect progressive of the verb in the parenthesis. Noura, is that you? Sabah, not see you since your graduation. So here I'm going to give you just a chance to read, and then I'm going to give you answer, so you can just check yourself and see what is the correct verb that you have chosen. Now we have here, Noura, is that you? Sabah, I haven't seen you since your graduation. We are focusing on the result or the action. How you be? How have you been? Great. Has it been that long? So what have you been doing? Now, actually, in these examples, you need to just focus and see what is the correct form that you apply, either the perfect simple or the perfect progressive, using the words that we have in the brackets. Let's just complete here. We have here B. Now, as I mentioned, that I'm going to give you a chance just to guess what is the answer here. We have here, you won't believe it, I teach English at our old high school. So here we can say that I have been teaching. I'm focusing on the time. Really? So you blank get your degree in English at last? So something that you have accomplished. We have here, so you have got. We have here, that's good news. How long? Work there. So from the question, how long? We have here, how long have you been working? I blank be there since the start of last semester. So here we are talking also about time. We have here, have you been there since the start of the last semester? What about you? How's your mom? So here we can see that the accomplishment in the last sentence, we have here the action or the result that she has started from the first of the semester. Moving on, we have our last part. Now she make any more beautiful clothes since I saw her last. We say that we have here, has she made? Oh yes, she just finished. We turn it into has just finished. That reminds me, we spend all month planning a dinner. We have here have spent. That's what the dress is for. We have here blank, planned the menu all morning. We have been planning the menu all morning. We have been 13. Would you like to come? I write an invitation to send. We can say here that we have here have written an invitation to send to you. What are you doing on Friday afternoon? That's kind of you. I not got anything special to do. So we have here, I haven't got. And we have been 15. Good. Well, I must go now. Mom, wait for me. Now we have here, Mom has been waiting for me. And the last one, we have here 16. She says, we talk too long on the phone as usual. So we have here, have been talking. Now I'm going to just close up here to remind you for the last time that we use has, as you can see here, Mom has with singular, and don't forget to use have with plural. Now we have here time expressions using for and since, as we mentioned before. And the last part of our enrichment is to remind you using the adjective, preposition, and gerund. Now, sometimes in these different structures, you can see that I'm not very good at playing sport. We have here good is the adjective, followed by the preposition and followed by the gerund, not good at playing. Also, in the second sentence, you can see we have the same thing. I'm fascinated by traditional stories. And I'm interested in reading all sorts of stories. Now, this was the last part in our for meaning and function. Of course, you can see that we used the adjective with the gerund. Now to talk about words that are connected to different hobbies or activities, as we have mentioned in the book. Now, as a last exercise, we have here, Ahmed will probably become a writer one day, as he always been a bookworm. If you want to keep fit, you might, and meet new people, I recommend joining a club where you can take part in different activities. Andy is so good at tennis that he has won several prestigious awards. Noura has always been fascinated by poems, and now she's writing her own poetry. I'm not the slightest bit interested in reading detective stories. Now here we have this exercise just to apply what we studied in the for meaning and function using words that are connected to hobbies or interests. Just to revise at the very end what we studied in Unit 6 in our grammar and for meaning and function. We studied, first of all, infinitive, story, and gerunds. We turned the infinitives and gerunds into the passive form. We connected using and but. We used with and but auxiliary verbs at the very end. We also used the present perfect simple in sentences and moved on to the present perfect progressive. Within the present perfect simple and progressive, we have here the sentences using since and for. We also revised the idea of using the adjective, preposition, and gerund in sentences, and of course, using words that are connected or related to hobbies and interests. So this is what we studied in Unit 6. Be ready and prepared for Unit 7. We are going to pass by with more enrichment.